Good morning. Response. Happy New Year. It is 2026. We're very expectant at both individual and collective aspirations we met in the year. Can I have a loud amen to that prayer? Okay. Good morning, Mr. President, Chairman of Council, Prince Abimbola Olashiri, members of Council, our patrons, members of the Executive Committee, the guest speaker, the moderator, our esteemed sponsors and partners, CEOs, MDs, COOs, executives, captains of industry, ladies and gentlemen. By way of introduction, my name is Tajuddin Ahmed. I'm the chairman of the Programs Committee of the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce. It is my honor to guide us through today's program. To commence today's proceedings, please let us rise as we have observed two very significant national anthems, the Nigerian and the British national anthems. May we rise, please. Media, let's play the anthems.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign motherland.
At the NBCC, January is always a very significant month for us. We start the year every year consistently over the past years to start an engagement on the economy of that particular year. And this year would not be an exception, and that's why we're all gathered here. On behalf of the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, I'm pleased to welcome you to the 2026 Economic Outlook Breakfast Meeting. This high-level forum brings together certain captains of industry, senior executives, policymakers, and thought leaders to examine Nigeria's economic landscape, discuss emerging trends, and explore strategic responses that will drive sustainable growth, business resilience, and informed decision-making in the year ahead. This edition is themed 2026 Economic Outlook. This breakfast meeting was created for a room like this, a gathering of senior executives, boardroom leaders, investors, policymakers who understand that navigating Nigeria's economic future requires more than short-term fixes. It requires foresight, data-driven analysis, and certainly the courage to make informed decisions in the face of uncertainty. Here, we're not only seeking insight, we're seeking practical, actionable guidance that can inform business strategy, investment decisions, and organization resilience. Today's conversation will surface real perspectives on economic trends, policy reforms, especially with this current government, sectoral opportunities, and the strengths of businesses that it can adopt and thrive in the year 2026. I have the singular honor to invite, before I do that, some few housekeeping rules. Questions will be answered during the Q&A session. Please raise your hand and the microphone will be brought to you. For posts on social media, please use the hashtag January Breakfast Meeting, hashtag NBCC FM, hashtag Economic Outlook. To officially declare this session open, as is customary with us at the NBCC, is the captain of the ship, the field marshal of the troops, and the pilot of the aircraft called NBCC. Let's give a resounding round of applause to Prince Abimbola Olashere, our president and chairman of council. The tone, the vibrancy of that applause will determine when he will come here. So we need to increase the decibel level of that applause. Mr. President.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to every one of us. Our Deputy President here at our program, Deputy President Oshitoki and Deputy President Nnamdi Okonkwo. You can see our patron and past President Ashiwa Jumaklolawale Cole, council members, ESCO members, distinguished guests, our guest speaker, Mr. Bismarck Ruwani, also our moderator, Professor Bongo Adi, our valued sponsors, partners, ladies and gentlemen. It is both a privilege and an honor to welcome you to this year's 2026 breakfast meeting, which is themed Economic Outlook 2026. I think your presence reflects a shared commitment to dialogue, partnership, and strategic foresight, which is the hallmark of the Chamber's enduring mission. This Economic Outlook breakfast meeting has become an indispensable forum for leaders of industry, government, and civil society to convene, reflect, and chart a forward-looking course for the years ahead. In today's rapidly evolving global and domestic environment, success is indeed anchored not only on resilience, but on foresight, informed strategy, and credible analysis. As we embark on 2026, Nigeria stands at a pivotal juncture. Our economy faces both challenges and remarkable opportunities. Fiscal and monetary shifts, global market fluctuations, and emerging sectoral trends are shaping the business landscape in profound ways. Today's discussion provides a timely lens through which to access these dynamics, identify growth sectors, and explore strategies for sustained investment and competitiveness. The Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce remains steadfast in its mandate to promote trade, investment, and economic cooperation between Nigeria and the United Kingdom, while equipping our members with insights and networks that enhance competitiveness, resilience, and impact. Platforms such as this breakfast meeting exemplify our commitment to thought leadership, to policy engagement, and private sector development. We are indeed honored to welcome Mr. Bismarck Ruwani, Managing Director of Fiscal Derivatives Company, as our keynote speaker. I gathered he came in overnight from -26, so I can say welcome to sunny Nigeria. And I'm very sure, given the way the global world is going, the best place to be nowadays must be Nigeria. Even if you are in Davos, it's also another minus. So again, this is where the action is. I do expect that Mr. Ruwani's analysis of macroeconomic trends, fiscal and monetary policy, and sectoral opportunities promises to sharpen our understanding and guide our strategic decision-making for 2026. I also acknowledge Professor Bongo Adi, our moderator, whose experience and insight will also ensure a structured, robust, and thought-provoking discussion throughout today's session. We're indeed grateful to our sponsors. Without them, we can't do too many things. And again, I must thank you that your support has made this gathering possible. And it also reflects your commitment to advancing dialogue, innovation, and sustainable growth. Distinguished guests, this gathering is not merely about forecast. It's really about equipping ourselves with knowledge, strengthening networks, and positioning our organizations to seize the opportunities and navigate the challenges. I encourage you to engage fully, ask incisive questions, and take advantage of the insights that will be shared today. I do express my profound gratitude for your continued support to the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce. And again, I must really thank the Programs Committee headed by Mr. Tajide Ahmed for once again putting together such an insightful program. So I do wish everybody a productive, insightful, and inspiring session. Thank you very much. And again, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President. That applause is not presidential. May we make it presidential. Thank you, Mr. President, for your opening charge. Mr. President has laid the marker regarding expectations from this session. Okay, we're at the critical point of this event. Have a profile here, but I rather jettison that profile and just invite Mr. B.J. Rwani. If you are here, an economist, an analyst, a former banker, a current banker, ex-solicitor, and you didn't know who Bismarck Jemide Rwani is, then you're probably living under the earth, not on top of the earth. So I would not bother reading this very long profile of Mr. B.J. Rwani, well-known, renowned economist, ex-banker. If you know a bank called IMB back in the day, I'm not talking to people born after 1975 or so. I mean, there was no way you could write the history of that bank without the likes of Mr. B.J. Rwani, Mr. Jim Ovia, Mr. Oladun Joye, Mr. Akinfemiwa, Shola Akinfemiwa, all of them. So Mr. B.J. has been around for so long that he doesn't need any introduction. I have the singular honor as a mentee of the guest speaker today to invite him to come and give us a presentation, lucid, insightful, very, very beneficial as usual. Mr. Bismarck Jemide Rwani, a proud Warri boy, is coming to speak to us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to be here. It's an opportunity and a privilege to talk to everybody here. One of the things we face today is the things out of our control are more than the things that are within our control. And as I was coming here, I thought about what lyrics of a song that will best depict it. There's a song by Aretha Franklin called Ever Changing Times. And it says that I see the clock on the wall, but it doesn't bother me at all. But these are ever changing times. And me and we ever changing time. Everything is going much faster. It seems like I'm watching my life and everything I do wonder if the dreams that I believed in will still come true. Caught in between it comes you and me running out of time. So, and she rendered this song in the inauguration of President Obama a couple of years ago. And I say this because Obama would not have been president of the United States of America if Lehman Brothers did not collapse and everything came crumbling. And they say, if the stars are aligned, everything is possible. Today we are talking about ever-changing times, and we are talking about what I call the Nigerian-British collaboration, the potential of Nigerian-British collaboration in an ever-changing world. The first slide I want to, if slides are up, I want to talk about is Nigeria's international trade. Whether we like it or not, there's the tariff wars and to all according to their needs and from each according to their ability. So, but 4 years is nothing in the history of a nation. And so as President Trump changes, and he did change between when he left the United States to go to Davos over Greenland. And so things change in minutes. And I want to share with you what Nigeria's international trade looked like over the period. If you look from 2019 to 2026, you will see clearly that Nigeria is trading, the trading partners are changing, the composition of trade is changing, and something sticks out. Nigeria is trading with countries whose currencies are falling in value. In other words, we're looking for value and we're looking for price. And you can see that as you go along. And imports moderated and exports increased. Not only the composition of the trade, but the value of what we're trading. And also, we made some internal adjustments. If you must look at it, we made some internal adjustments, changed the currency value, and also did so many things. We changed policies, but we did not reform the institutions. Another thing that I want you to note is changing patterns of trade. And if I must, can't see the slides myself. So I have to come down this way. Okay, that's fine. That's good. Aha. Okay. Okay. All right. So I can see it anyway. So in the 1980s and before then, what we looked for was part of the Commonwealth Development Corporation, grants, concessions, loans, debt relief, post-colonial adjustments. At one point in time, the Nigerian pound was the same thing. One Nigerian pound was equal to one British pound until things changed. So the post-colonial dependency went on, and outcomes were many developing countries in the Commonwealth and in Britain and in Nigeria changed their pattern. So come the 2000s, internal adjustments took place and the emphasis moved from aid to trade. Before, when you went cap in hand begging for aid, now you went to trade and you negotiated your trade relationship. So even today, you see everybody going for trade agreements, multilateral trade agreements, bilateral trade agreements. And then come the 2020s, we are now talking about investments, collaboration and investments. And so when you hear Trump goes to a country and says, oh yeah, we just signed a deal and got $20 billion of investments, $100 billion of investments, and those investments, because investments create jobs. One important thing you have to note is the investment multiplier. Theory in economics is that once you increase the investment, the outcome, the impact on income is a multiple of what you invested. So that's the theory of the multiplier theory. So we have had changing trade patterns. And next slide to that will be Nigerian companies with British interest. Okay. And this is not an exhaustive list, but something we need to look at. Shell Petroleum Development Company. It's called the Royal Dutch Shell, with headquarters in The Hague and Waterloo. So we have Seplat, which has interests, and we have reciprocal investments. You have Seplat in the UK and Seplat listed on both exchanges. We have Guinness Nigeria, which is an acquiring company which has done 75 years or 76 years of existence. We have Virgin Atlantic, we have British Airways, we have Unilever Nigeria, from your margarine all the way to your close-up and all sorts of things. We have British American Tobacco. We have invested a lot over the years and have been a constant star here. We have PZ Cousins, which has transformed himself from just not making thermocool refrigerators and we have May and Baker. I can't exhaust it, but British interest in Nigeria spans everything and has been growing, quite quietly, but noticeably. Another trend that we need to look at that has changed, I would say it's ever-changing times. Next slide, please, is Nigerian banks in the UK. Before, there was maybe only one Nigerian bank in the UK, First Bank, then Union Bank. But now we have So many, and I can't exhaust them. We have Feed Bank UK, which is it used to be Union Bank UK, sold over to Fidelity Bank. We have GT Bank, we have Zenith Bank, we have First Bank, we have UBA, we have FCMB UK, we have Access. I'm sure I've missed a few others. But it's easier to put 50 flies in a matchbox than to get approval to create a bank in the UK. And the reality is that the conditions that you have to meet to get approval, and there are different levels of performance or different levels of licensing in the UK. And you know, in the UK, just like in the US, they've separated bank regulation from what they call the policy, economic policy, the Bank of England. So the Bank of England operates and talks about policies and interest rates and all the other variables. However, you have the Financial Conduct Authority and the Financial Prudential Authority that regulates banks. So the benefit of it is that if a bank, a Nigerian bank, operates in the UK, is subject to the jurisdiction of the Financial Conduct Authority, and they are very stringent. Therefore, if you have a bank here, the probability of a bank going under when it also has a license to operate in the UK is very slim. That's another assurance. It's like an airline. If Air Peace is operating out of Gatwick, before it takes off from Gatwick, it has to meet the minimum safety requirements there. And so if you have, anytime you have institutions that provide service that have multiple jurisdictions, then that gives you some safe, so comfort. It doesn't mean that bad things happen to good people at times, but next slide. So next slide will tell us, okay, this is from 2021 to 2025, change in trade dynamics. Number one trading partner in imports was China in 2021, 2025, China. Number two was Netherlands, and number two in 2025 is USA. Number two in 2021 was Netherlands. India was number three, and it goes all the way down. Nigeria is trading more with countries whose currencies have a depreciated value, and the quality of goods is being undermined. So, and major imports are machinery and equipment. So if you go forward, you will see that why Netherlands? Netherlands was where we're exporting crude and refining and bringing it back. So as your refineries started working here, and that amount of imports, right? So we are still exporting crude. There are other things that are happening apart from tradable goods, because in international finance, you have tradables and non-tradables, invisible trade items. So you have medical tourism, you have education tourism, you have ICT, and then you have goods, and then you have creative commodities like music and movies. So, but you can see here that the European Union and African trade has increased. The Chinese road and what they call road and belt initiative has also shown there's a change. So the traditional and orthodox partners of doing business in the old order have all changed. If you look at the map of Nigeria, you see that the rail lines were from Kano all the way to Lagos and the other way to Port Harcourt. What was it meant for? So that cotton and groundnuts can put on the trains and bring it out and ship it out. You have to export raw materials and import finished goods. That's the structure, and it hasn't changed. The structure is still there, but the dynamics of that business model and economic model has changed completely. So ever since then, when you add the emergence of the BRICS, the next 11, which tells you that countries are changing and the components of their trade and GDP are also changing. I want you to note clearly that 10 years ago, or even 10 years ago, I would say, Nigeria was the largest economy in Africa, with GDP based on the value of the currency of now about $500 billion, $510 billion. Nigeria was 26 in the world. Fast forward 10, 15 years, Nigeria's GDP is now $250 billion. Nigeria is the fourth largest economy in Africa. And Nigeria is now, I think, about the 41st or 42nd country in the world. So things have changed. We've been able to work our way down the ladder of success. And so now, so what have we done? The Nigerian economy was almost totally dependent on crude oil exports, refined products, now fertilizers, solid minerals. We were producing 200,000 tons of cocoa. We're the third largest cocoa producer in the world. We are now number 4. Cameroon has overtaken us. But the good thing is that the price of cocoa has gone all the way from, it was 1,500, went all the way to $12,000 a ton. We're making about almost $4 billion a year in export earnings. But the bad news is that in the last 2 weeks or so, we've gone down below $5,000 and 4,000 something. So the guys were spending money like drunken sailors in Oyo State, Ekiti State, and Ondo State are having to become more sober. And I guess they'll drink more local alcohol. Now, so next slide, please. Now, changing patterns. Many years ago, UK is Nigeria's top international flight destination, 20.3% of total international flights with 421,300 passengers. And you can see the London, Heathrow, Gatwick. Second in that line of preferred destinations, changing them. Accra, then Jeddah, Toronto, Canada, Manchester, UK. If I take this 10 years back, it's a different picture altogether. So this is telling you things. Manchester, New York City, Medina in Saudi Arabia, Johannesburg in South Africa, Washington, D.C., and Cairo, Egypt. This is the current top 10 destinations. What does A tell you? London, UK, people going to school, people going to visit family, people going for medicals, people going for vacation, people going to concerts, and all of that. Accra, Ghana used to have one flight a day or 2 flights a day in those days when Unande was there. But today we have about, about almost 65 flights a week. We used to have 2 a day. Now, Ibome has 2, United has African World, Air Peace, you name it. And that's just Lagos, Accra. I'm not talking about Abuja, Accra. I'm not talking about Eski, which goes Lagos, Lome, and Lome into Accra. So what are they going to do in Ghana? Gold, tourism, education, medical, and all of that. Jeddah, people go to pray, and people also do business there. And now watching soccer, golf, and all of that. Toronto, Canada, alternative for jackpotting. So you have 2.9 there. New York City is a big apple again. Then Medina in Saudi Arabia. What am I emphasizing here? And those days we had about 6 or 7 leading carriers. We had British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, Lufthansa, KLM, Air France. That was all. Now we have over 35 carriers, network carriers. Ethiopia, Emirates, Qatar, Egypt, Turkish Air. Those. So again, remember what Aretha Franklin says, the ever-changing times. I look at the clock on the wall and it never bothers me at all because things keep on changing. Next slide. So what are the new opportunities? I've shown you the trend, but one thing is constant. Change is constant, right? And we are going to talk about what are the changes we expect in 2026 in a minute. But that's why we came here this morning. So new opportunities in fintech, as distinct from digital technology on its own, as distinct from power. No country can grow. And we've seen what has happened in the last few months, in the last 1 or 2 years. The emergence of artificial intelligence. And we now found out that artificial intelligence consumes more power than anything else. It was Farid Zakaria talking on Sunday who said that anytime you ask a question on AI and you get the response, the power consumption in that process is more than using a microwave for 3 minutes. Because it has to scan the whole world to look for the answer and then give it back to you. And the microwave is the most consuming. So I just want you to imagine, think about it, that everybody is here using AI and each of us doing that is using a microwave for 3 minutes. So are you surprised why the grid keeps on crashing? So all of a sudden, United States, Europe, China are having power shortfalls. And it's not because of producing goods. It's because of services and artificial intelligence. And the bad news is that every time you use AI, right, you are actually creating unemployment because you are displacing people. So if you have high population, low skills, and you are using AI, so these are challenges and opportunities, and we have to look at it. And there's nothing you can do about it. Next slide, please. So opportunities, risks, and threats. We just had Kodos Capital and all the other guys talking about what the future, want to raise capital and all that. But we'll come back to the picture, right? So opportunities, Dangote Refinery is saying that you invest in Naira and we'll pay you dividends in dollars if you want it, or if we pay you dividends in Bitcoin if you want it, right? Because these days we don't know whether any transactions which are being monitored by the tax authorities. So people say, let's encrypt it, The treasury bills and tax-free and secure, agro-processing, real estate, so, but there are also risks of these sectors that have opportunities to have risk, and the risk can be hedged and mitigated in some cases. There are also threats, right, of the fact that policies could change very quickly, and that, what they said, TACO, what TACO stands for, right? Trump always chickens out. That's what they say. But now it's gone from TACO to Donroe, from the Monroe Doctrine to the Donroe Doctrine. And then he changes his mind later on. But that's the reality. Next slide. We're going into Nigeria in the global context in 2026. I think it's important to know so that we don't get into hallucination. What our share of world trade, what our share of world output, what our share of world exports and all of that. But let's start off by saying some parameters as we see them. Real GDP growth in 2026 is expected to be 4.4 according to the IMF, 4.1 average. National savings about 26% of GDP. Interest rates 26%. When they say interest rates, we're talking about the NPR, which is now currently 27.27. It goes down by another 1 or 2%. Purchasing power parity, I'll ignore that for now. Inflation at the end of 2026 is expected to be 12.7, probably higher. Non-food inflation will be about 18. Gross external reserves will be about $44 billion, even though some people think it's going to be higher. What you call capital formation is there. The exchange rate, end of period, exchange rate will be anywhere between 1,500 and 1,590. And the fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP will be minus 4%. The safest place to be is -3. We would have been at -8 if we didn't take some of the subsidies away. The fiscal deficit in nominal terms will be about 20 trillion. I think it's going to be higher, maybe about 30 trillion, because you can't stop politicians from spending money in an election year. So to expect that to happen is to think that Jesus Christ has come back already. We know it's coming back. We don't know when, but so petrol price per liter, something we'll talk about because the Dangote White Knight is there, and right now the gantry price is $6.99. We are saying that it will probably go back slightly up to around 800 naira per liter. But it will go down first. After the price war is finished, then we begin to see the price go back up. So the global economy in 2026 is going to be moderate, resilient, AI investment and consumer spending. But also, we said 2026 is a year of 3 different parts for Nigeria. You have 4 quarters or 3 parts. The first part is January and February. In January and February, we expect, next slide, please. We expect the budget to be passed. It hasn't been passed yet. We'll get there, right? We expect the budget to be passed. We expect that the MPC will meet on February 21st, next month. We expect and we think that the new tax law be implemented in a staggered form. We expect that the price of oil will fall after everything that happened in green. All those things that pushed the flight to safety. The price of gold went through the roof and all of that. So when Trump gets back and after the jet lag, things will settle a little bit, and we'll see the price of oil coming down. Because whether we like it or not, the Venezuelan oil is still there, but it will take time to. But the perception, the expectations are that the price of oil will come down, and it has serious implications for us. So that's the first 2 months. But also, using the INEC timetable, it means that candidates, you have to start submitting candidates' names in primaries by February, March. So if I'm a serving minister and I want to be a governor, it means that I cannot be on the list, primaries list, if I'm still holding a cabinet position. So I don't know how many are there, but from my interaction with the marabouts and all of that, I found out there are a lot of people who are aspiring, right? So Pastor Alabayo and all those people, Suleiman and all that, the queues of people in front of them asking for guidance on what to do. So that well, I think I said there are 2 things I would pray to be if I was to come back to the world again, and which will make me very rich. 1, a marabou or pastor, but 2, the most paying, I know, to be a psychiatrist, because there's so much need. The aggregate demand for mental stability is so high. So those are the 2 things I would have prayed to God that, please, if I come back, make me 1, a marabou, 2, a psychiatrist. Because it's only mad people that go to the marabouts anyway. So, so that's what it is. But let's come back. So all of those people who are ministers, commissioners, who want to run, they have to. First of all, they all jumped into the same party, and so you have those in power, those in opposition, those neutral, all of them in the same boat. But once you select one candidate, when they select, then this dust settles, right? And then money begins to get spent. But even more money is spent in the primaries than in the elections, because that's when you have to buy the delegates, right? And so you will begin to see property values fall because people are selling properties to buy delegates. So you'll be short on property, long on delegates, right? And the funny thing is that the delegates are known for what we say in Wari, we say where you put your legs in 2 canoes, right? And the canoes move in the Anyway, you will have a scrotal accident. All right. So, so that's the third part of it. So that's what you're going to be looking at for January, February, and March. And this March is very interesting because March 18th and 19th is the Salah holiday. So the fasting starts, and these are very major economic variables. And then 4th and 5th is Good Friday and Easter Monday. So you have that 2-week period where you go from Salah to Easter, right? And then the post Easter blues. So that's what you should be looking out for. These have serious ramifications in terms of values of currency, interest rates, loans, and all of that. After that, you have a small window of about 2 months, that April and May, after which economics closes down and politics takes over. Nothing else will happen. Okay, so you saw AFCON. Spent all our time trying to get AFCON. That's over. Thank God we didn't win, because if we had won, we would spend the next 1 month going from carrying the cup from one state capital to the other and be diverted. Maybe the kidnappers would have kidnapped the trophy. Okay. So that's the Nigeria of 2026. First part, the 3 parts. First part is the part I've just described. Second part is tidying up things, right? Trying to understand. Because those who have to resign to contest election means that those cabinet positions have to be reshuffled. And some people working in the agencies, just not ministers. If I'm an MD of an oil parastatal and I want to contest election, I have to step down, right? So the deals you have done and the commitments you've received from those who are running the agencies today, who have political aspirations, if they get the clearance from the Amarabus and the pastors, right? Right? So those guys will move, and you have to deal with the new people in each of these positions. But don't forget, the policies remain the same, but the institutional reform, because the institutions are dependent on people. And people have to pay their way to get those positions, and they get a return on that investment. So political investment and economic return are the things that you'll be looking out for. So what should a normal businessman, and I use the word normal. Remember I told you I would come back as a psychiatrist. So so what should a normal businessman be doing now? I listened to BBC this morning and I said 40% of the population in Japan are over, and China are over 60 years old. And Nigeria, only 3% of the population are above 60. So productivity, medical care, output, extended retirement age all the way to 75. And so it's a different world and different factors that are pulling us in different direction. So, but one thing we have to understand and look at, to look at 2021, potential GDP was higher, was 4%. Real GDP was 2 and less than that, in fact, negative, COVID. It gets to a point where real GDP is now higher than potential GDP, which is a good thing. It means that the resources you have in the ground, the gas they have in the ground, the oil you have in the ground, the factors. So that's a good thing, because we are now growing at 4.4%, or should be growing at 4.4%. So that's a very important thing. So the economy is producing as much as it can without creating inflation or waste. That's the whole idea. Next slide. You've heard recently, first of all, about 5-6 years ago, there was an argument about how to compute employment and unemployment. So we used to have unemployment of about 30% when Yemi Kale was in the, in the NBS. Then all of a sudden the methodology changed and we now have unemployment of 4%, which is about the same as in Germany or in France. So natural law of economics, people move towards, so one of the natural laws that you move from the dry area towards the coast, you move from rural to urban, you also move from where there's high unemployment to where there's low unemployment. For context, South Africa's unemployment is about 33%, ours is 4%. So if that is the case, people should be actually jackpotting from Europe into Nigeria. So you can play around with numbers, but anecdotal evidence will prove that your numbers are wrong, right? There'll be more people coming in, jumping to migrate into Nigeria. Benin Republic, which has an election coming up any moment, will see everybody will run from there into Nigeria, from Cameroon and all the others. But it's not happening, which means that the problem with that definition of unemployment, which means that if you've been employed for 1 hour in a day or 40 hours a week or something, you're employed. But the income you earn can barely buy you a loaf of bread is expensive, 2,000 naira. So that's now we've changed the methodology and base year, which is normal for inflation. And so at the end of the base year caught up with us in December. So we're going to recast it all the way back. And so what would have been showing if we used the normal thing, we would have been showing 31% inflation. But now it has come down and they rebased it. And you know what? The budget target was 15. And what for December? And exactly, no, even if you want to fudge numbers, you should add point something to make it not, So 15 exactly. Right? So, well, but the reality is that price of goods, it's a basket of goods. You change in prices, and we are beginning to see some change in point of inflection. And for a number of reasons, many reasons for that matter. So next, so that we call it disingenuous use of the CPI. So the exchange rate is becoming quite interesting. The parallel market is the green line, and the official is the yellow line. So you see where they met in October, November. So generally speaking, Naira has been appreciating. And then all of a sudden, again, the political game is here. And we are beginning to see the gap widen. Yesterday it was 1430 or 14 official, and it was 1490 parallel, right? So that gap is about 71. But there's something in understanding the exchange rate movement, you should think of something else. In the last few days, the dollar fell because of Trump and all these other activities. So when the dollar falls against other currencies, you have to look at the Naira value against the euro, the UK British pound, and all of that. And that has told us something, that there's been more stability in these other currencies as against the dollar. Two, you also look at the price of gold, right? That's another measure you have to look at. The price of gold as of yesterday was $4,800. That's the highest point in history per ounce. Per ounce. But strange enough, we read yesterday the price of diamonds have dropped by about almost 15 to 20%. Why? Because they have synthetic diamonds now, but you don't have synthetic gold right now. So, but that widening gap is telling us something. It's preparing us for the fact that in February there will be an MPC meeting, and if the interest rates are dropped precipitously, then your FPIs, your foreign portfolio investments, will go out and the currency will come under pressure. So we have to look out. Again, don't forget, we are talking about the first 3 months, the second 2 months, and after that, all bets are off. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are the fundamental factors? Because all that is technical. Currencies moving, when people wake up, when there's Hamatan, the currency goes. No, all sorts. The most important thing are the fundamental factors. Your foreign portfolio inflows are down in Q2 from 19 billion to about $2 billion in Q2, Q3. Because people are now carry trade, taking profits. Because the closer you get to elections, the more the volatile monies people take money off the table. Oil production is down from 1.49 to 1.42. Your gross external reserves are down from 47. Reserves are up from 45 to 47. And oil price is down to $64. But I can bet you the oil price is going to go much lower. And there's a correlation between the drop in price and the strength of your currency and your fiscal deficit. Current account balance is down from $5 billion, $5.8 billion to $3.4 billion. And your remittances are expected to increase to $24 billion. I disagree with that proposition because I think that AI will affect our diaspora. So the law of nature is that the last to be hired is the first to be fired, right? Especially when things change. So if you look at the article that says that AI has decimated Ascension, McKinsey, because many of those jobs cannot be carried out by robots, right? No, those jobs can be carried out by AI, but the waiters in the hotel and others, right? Now the robotics is showing us. So there are a lot of things that are happening at the same time. So remittances, the unemployed man is not going to be remitting money to his parent, especially when he's hiding from ICE, right? Because ICE has now been going to churches to look for people who are going to pray to hide from. The trade balance is going to be down, but what is most important is for you to see the PPP value of the currency. It used to be 113 something. It's now 1256, and the level of undervaluation of the currency has gone from 22% to about 11%. If that trend continues, we think that the worst that will happen is that the price of oil will drop to 58, and the currency will lose about 8 to 10% of its value. Worst case scenario, right? So that's one thing that everybody. So prepare yourself for the fact that currency is not going to appreciate. Another thing that happened recently is because of the uncertainty as to what tax, when it's going to be taxed, whether there's going to be a violation of people's privacy by government looking into your accounts to post no debit on your account and do all of that. Some people are saying, look, I don't like stories, take my money, and first of all in cash, secondly maybe dollars, thirdly in Bitcoin, and fourthly in CBEX or something like that. Those wonder banks. So you want to think about that and see how you go. So we've talked about dropping global oil prices. We say things that could go wrong, security risk, because as you grow, if you grow with equity, you will have security risks. Fiscal pressures because of debt sustainability. There's nothing you can do. You can't stop a politician from spending money before election, except they've changed the definition of politician. FX shocks and reserve adequacy. These are just things that will go wrong. Next slide, please. Another thing you have to look at is the budget. Whether you like it or not, the reality says that the price of oil is lower, production is lower, currency values are stable. Therefore, in real terms, the budget should be smaller this year than it was in the previous year. But if you look at it, the budget expansion is about almost 20%, which means somebody has to pay for it. but nobody's telling you who's going to pay for it. There's no free lunch. So last year, the target for growth was 4%, 4.6. We grew at 4. Difference was 0.6. The price of oil in, the National Assembly, $75. The real price was $64. We're down by 11. Oil production, we said 2.06 so that we can have our community projects. We actually came in at 1.4. The exchange rate was 1,500. We came in at, we overshot it and we positive, so 1,485. And inflation was at 15 target, and bingo, 15 after revaluation, after what do you call it, rebasing, right? So it means the name of the guys who did this, call them Crunger. You know what Crunger means? It used to be the registrar of WAEC in those days. So if you have question paper before, so those were those days before NECO and all of that. So what the budget, again, we know what it is, but budget in a political election year is not a normal budget. So don't expect too much. Just live with the reality. But whether we like it or not, it's an opportunity. So what will investors do? Investors would finalize their budget, do everything, and shut down. Virtually, I mean, they will be doing business, but they will not make any. Even if you make final investment decision, you'll not implement until July 2027. Why do I say July 2027? President is sworn in, right, in May 29, and he will form his cabinet, because there's no point, you can't make any decision until you know who is going to be in the cabinet. And since everybody is in the same party, the squabbles and the struggles are going to be much intense, right? So next slide. So public debt, a big issue. But the deficit of today is the debt of tomorrow. And the debt of tomorrow is the rescheduling debt of the day after. So that's what you can see. If you plot this graph against your reserves, you'll find that your public debt is increasing, your reserves are increasing, your debt service burden is increasing. So somebody pays for it. In the past, what we did, we did anchor borrowers program, we did what do you call it, ways and means, I did all of that. But whether you like it or not, it always shows up in the wash, right? So next. So this is what you are going to be seeing on the external side. The red line is FDI inflow, the yellow line is trade balance, and then the blue line is current account balance. So you find that 2025, they all stabilize, and then in 2026, the flat line is 2027, after we know where we're going, right? Things will change dramatically. So again, short term, if you take the exchange, if you take the reserves of $42 or $44 billion, and you take away the amount of money that foreign portfolio investors brought in, right? We will say, let us say $14 billion are taken out. So we end up with about 30 in a good day, but maybe 20 in a bad day. So, but 20 will still cover more than 6 months of import. So the currency will not fall off the cliff. Next slide, please. We're running out of time. Okay, sectoral growth and market outlook. Just very quickly. Telecoms continue to drive. But again, don't forget, telecoms growth is also a function of power. So, and something that comes out of this is that, your 5G, your streaming, your all these things, AI, driving things. But this projected earnings in 2026 of 41 trillion naira. Next slide. And technology and fintech put together, you see it there. Now for agric and agric processing, 104, that's revenue. Go back again. And then we have manufacturing. All of these things are changing. So you'll see growth opportunities, but every time sectors grow like this, it means that there'll be a shakeout in that sector. So there'll be consolidation, and those who are winning are going to be winning, And those who are losers are going to lose big time, right? And throw in the towel. So we are going to see that. So even if the Osher index is increasing, and we'll come to talk about that in a minute, you'll find that one or two companies will do well, while many others will sink. Next slide. So it's not a tide that lifts all boats. Market outlook, please. So proxies, oil rig count, 23, difference down 0.6. Ships awaiting berth are down. Stock market capitalization, well, there's expectation, but the reality, you expect about a 20% increase in. But if Dangote lists with all the money that is there, and I think it will list, and one or two others list, we may see that euphoria. But again, after June, nobody's going to do anything. Everybody waiting for the elections. Corporate profit for the top 5 companies, it was 2.7 trillion in 2025. We're expecting it to be 6.2 trillion in 2026. However, they will not pay taxes because they have to claw back the losses of the past. Pension assets will go by about 10 trillion naira. And of course, recapitalization of capital market operators, pensions, insurance companies, and banks. The next slide, please. So, global and domestic perspective, Goldman Sachs are expecting the S&P to reach 7,600, up by 11%, and that's huge. Rate of inflation in the US is about 2.7, and if you get a return of 11% in US terms, it's quite interesting. The most valuable companies in the world, with above $3 trillion in value, remain the same magnificent 7: NVIDIA, Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft. Yes, right? They will grow their earnings by about 21% to $701 billion. We think that, you're going to have Tesla. Elon Musk said 2 days ago that he's trying to buy Ryanair. But remember what Richard Branson says, that the best way for a billionaire to become a millionaire is to set up an airline. So cash on hand, Apple and Meta, Microsoft, they will stay near $80 billion. Apple has about $300 billion of cash anyway. Bitcoin will swing wildly all over the place. Like Warren Buffett said, and he's exited now. Warren Buffett said Bitcoin is rat poison, right? And he also, today, he said the biggest mistake he made in investment, and that's a man who hardly makes any mistake, was that he bought Kraft. So they are selling Kraft. Kraft that makes, and KitKat makes chocolate, Kraft makes cheese and all that, right? So, all right. So in Nigeria, average 5 new listings expected. We do not expect the listing. Top 10 companies earnings to reach 8.5 trillion. An average PE of the mix. You get your money back in 45 years if you invested now. Estimated average daily turnover will also be about 135 billion. Next slide. So, what kind of mix are you going to have? Gold, can't go wrong with gold, right? Equities, you got to know which ones you're buying. Buy low and sell high, right? Treasury bill, capital preservation, liquidity. So we look at that and see what rates are happening in the bond market. And rents and property, discounting for politicians who have sold their properties, or properties that are stuck in the middle, which never completed. Next slide. So let's make it more rapid. So policy reforms in 2026, tax, power forbearance, institutional reform, changing of musical chairs in cabinets, both state and federal, 7.5% VAT on services and fees, bank recapitalization, insurance recapitalization, capital market recapitalization, stricter enforcement, and everybody goes to bed in May and wake up May the following year. Next. It says sell in May and go away, right? So game changer, big game changer, Dangote refinery, you see. I don't need to tell you about it. So price war means that while the price war lasts, everybody should enjoy it. We are paying 42 cents per liter, right? In the States, it's about $1.25. That's $4.44 per gallon divided by 4. And that's on premium spirit. So Dangote refinery is prepared to deliver 50 to 55 million liters a day. The price of gantry prices now 66 naira per liter. And the trucks that are transporting the products are using CNG. And to understand CNG, if you convert your car to compressed natural gas, your equivalent price of petrol is about 200 naira instead of 800 naira. And so those trucks that are using CNG, right, including Dangote trucks, are running at what are the cost of the others. But you still have to convert your vehicle. The cost of conversion. Right now, the government is doing it for some people, but others will have done it. So that's another thing to look at. Electric vehicles are the future, and driverless cars as well. Again, AI driven. So those are things that, so long term, there will still be need for oil and gas. There will still be need for fossil fuels. But it is now clear that energy produced by renewable energy, power produced by renewable energy, is now cheaper than power produced from normal. And that's that's what finished Pakistan. So right now, you are better off investing in the solar panels that have been thrown in from China, right, than being on band B. If you're on band A, then you're out. So everybody's putting up things because of that. Right. So Dangote refinery is going to help us. But again, big thing, fertilizer is going to be the largest fertilizer producer in the world, biggest PMS producer in the world. And so and that's why if you go back to the proposed listing, if you list that, it could add almost 100 trillion naira to market capitalization. So let's conclude here. 1, GDP will grow at 4.1 to 4.4, depending on how optimistic or when last you saw your Marable, right? The exchange rate gap between the parallel and the official will widen. We don't expect it to get more than 100 naira. US dollar will weaken against a basket of currencies just because of the instability of the economy and instability of the minds of the people running the economy. Money policy expected to adopt a mixed, cautious approach in Nigeria. Policy rate cut we expect next month. We have 100 basis points. New tax laws, right? New tax law will have both its positive and negative, but it's going to increase the volume of the shadow economy. I expect a lot of people are going to take money out of the system. But money out of the system also increases the attraction of robberies and on Nigerian activities. So you have that risk. So somebody say, okay, I can negotiate with the armed robber over what I have, but I cannot negotiate with the government if the government comes to my account. So I'd rather keep my money where I can. So public debt will edge up, and public debt service and trading blocks, currency arrangements will be redefined, and everybody will decide who they're going to do business with. Next slide. So let me say this in closing, that there's going to be a lot of unknowns. I cannot wake up and tell you what is going to happen tomorrow. If not, that's why I say when I come back, I'll be a Marable so I can see things. If I'm not a Marable, I'll be the psychiatrist that will treat the victims of the Marable. But remember, like I always like to close, that in the world in which we are in, ever-changing times, what you see is what you get, and what you don't see is what gets you. Thank you.
Let's give Mr. BJ Rwani another round of applause. I don't know whether I have the authority to disclose this, Mr. President. Mr. BJ Rwani will be 74 in April. So how many 74-year-olds can stand here without shaking their legs for almost 1 hour? Let's give him another resounding round of applause. Fit as fiddle. There's a kind of water they drink in Warri that makes them look so young. Okay. Next is a sponsors videos. I have the honor to invite Prime Next Logistics and Adron Homes consecutive. Let's give them a round of applause, our sponsors.
In a world where business never stops, logistics becomes the engine that keeps it moving. Precision, reliability, and trust define every successful operation. Prime Next Logistics is at the heart of what we do, delivering international freight forwarding, customs clearance, and trade facilitation, ensuring cargo moves seamlessly across borders and businesses, stay connected to global markets. Prime Next Courier Express delivers speed and reliability through efficient nationwide courier and last-mile delivery solutions. And through international logistic services, we support structured global trade with seamless cross-border logistics coordination. Prime Next Group, delivering beyond borders.
There is a place where peace greets you at the gate, where every day feels like a retreat into paradise. The Mako Hall inspired gatehouse is rooted in culture and inspired by history. Yoruba ma wípé ìlera òun lòògùn ọrọ̀. Here, you can strengthen your body and refresh your soul at our modern mini stadium. The roads are smooth, the journey easy. And when it is time to dine, you will eat like royalty in a space made for celebration. This is more than an estate. It's a serene community filled with homes crafted with love and care. At West Park and Gardens, happiness isn't far away. It lives here, waiting for you.
Adron Homes.
Building cities, communities, and homes.
It would be remiss of me not to correct that little slip. Mr. BJ Rwani will be 75 in April, not 74. All right. At the NBCC, we go factual at all times. It's part of it's in our DNA. We don't need to be at Davos to see that. So, I have the honor to invite the moderator for today's event. Someone jokingly said we made a deliberate decision to pair Professor Bongoadi and Mr. BJ Rwani together because they are the face of a certain other platform that I won't mention because they didn't pay for advert. I have a very long profile of Professor Bongoadi, but I'm going to shorten it. Professor Adi stands as a distinguished professor of economics and data analytics at Lagos Business School, Pan-Atlantic University, Nigeria, representing the quintessential scholar practitioner who seamlessly bridges rigorous academic inquiry with transformative policy and strategy implementation. I'll go ahead to say that he has a PhD in regional science and development economics and an MSc in economic development and policy management, both earned under the prestigious Joint Japan World Bank Graduate Scholarship at the University of Tsukuba in Japan. Like President Trump said yesterday at Davos, we'll have been speaking a little bit of German and some Japanese if America hadn't done what they did. So maybe, Professor Adi can speak a little bit of Japanese there. Let me just go to the last paragraph. It's a very long profile. Professor Abi's dedication to advancing economic policy dialogue is directed In his leadership roles within the professional organization, serving as chairman of the editorial subcommittee of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group (NESG) since 2021, and as founding board member and chief economist of the IMO Economic Summit Group. I have the honor to invite to the podium to do his thing as moderator, Professor Bongo Adi. Please let's give Professor Adi a resounding round of applause. Let the applause be the payment for shortening his profile. And again, I would like to invite Mr. BJ Rwani to come to the podium for a fireside chat. Let's applaud Mr. BJ Rwani as he comes forward.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, distinguished friends and colleagues. I prefer that. And thank you, BJ, for that very humorous, storytelling. They say the greatest tool ever invented by man is the story. And you made a very good use of that, making light of the Nigeria's reality. Last December, if you recall, you brought your friend to our other forum. After your presentation, he said that you were still very bearish, that you need to be very bullish. So why didn't you listen to your friend? You are still not bullish. Why? About the economy. I'm talking about Alhaji. He brought Alhaji to the LBS Breakfast Club, breakfast at dinner time. So after his presentation, Alhaji said he was too bearish about the economy, that he needs to be more bullish. So I don't think that...
Well, Alhaji invested $20 billion, right? First of all, I don't have $20 billion, but he can. And anybody who could stick $20 billion in an economy must be very optimistic about it.
Yes.
But Harold Wilson used to say, they asked him why he appointed Barbara Castle as a minister. He says, I'm the prime minister and I'm driving fast. I need Barbara Castle to tap me on the shoulder to say, you are driving too fast, so slow down so that we don't have an accident. So what Alhaji considered to be pessimistic was cautiously optimistic from my own perspective. And I cannot have been around long enough to know that when politics is beckoning, all other bets are off. So the numbers look good. The data, if you discount for disingenuous manipulation, still looks good. But again, the productivity factors are increasing. I have no problem with that. But productivity without equity paints a different picture. And therefore, the risk that things could happen. Right. When Alhaji was there and we had that dinner, we didn't know that bombs would be dropped in Sokoto.
Yes.
We didn't know that Maduro would be taken away. And neither did we know that Greenland would be in play. So if I had a crystal ball that could tell the seeds that will grow from that, those that will not grow, we won't be here. We'll be in the Bahamas.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for that. So looking at the trend, what key indicators do you think that investors and business people should prioritize in 2026?
As a businessman, I'll look at three things. Everything I do, which is interest rate sensitive, I'll look at closely. Everything, in fact, before that, anything that is exchange rate sensitive, both directly, I will look at. And thirdly, I'll look at and I'll discount the inflation numbers that come out to see and use a rule of the thumb to take the new data and add a factor to break it the old data. Because inflation will go a long way to determine future inflation expectation, exchange rate movement and interest rate movement. If you keep your eyes on those three, then you are good. So fundamentally, the Nigerian economy has structural problems, but it's solid. We are happy with the way things are moving, but we are also worried about the disconnection between the political agenda and the economic agenda.
Yeah, I like what you said about us knowing how to go off the ladder of the rung of success.
Walking down the ladder of success.
Yes, So another person put it this way, that Nigeria has this incredulous ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of success. So what do you think could go wrong?
I told you in my next life I want to be a marable. So I'm not there yet. So the things that could go wrong are the inability of people to not believe that whatever looks great, right, and looking good will turn to become bad, and whatever looks bad and difficult will turn around to become good. To have that fixation that if things are going good, they will continue, and if things are going bad, they will continue. To build into your DNA and your thinking process the possibility of change, and more interestingly, rapid change. The difference between evolution and revolution is that evolution is slow, revolution is fast, right? So an economic revolution is taking place, right? And for my colleagues who we sit on the same board, I spend all the time talking about what is going to change and how fast will it change, and are you positioned to respond to that, right? So I've told you the variables that we're watching, but I'm also telling you that the minds of the people sitting around the boardroom, the minds of the people managing resources, who think that as it was yesterday, it will be tomorrow. Avoid such people.
Thank you very much. My next question will be with respect to the sectors. So if we decompose the growth, so which sectors do you think will record, a good performance in 2026?
Again, I'll go back. Telecoms and everything driven by technology, including fintechs. But those things will not mean anything except something is done about power. And power, we do. There's one thing that Nigerians like to do. They separate things and stay permanently. Oh, Gencos, Discos, leave transmission. As long as the transmission lines are not functioning, that which is generated will not get to the Discos. And we say we must leave the transmission lines 100% government owned. So you are guaranteed to fail. So if tomorrow, so what are they doing? They're having embedded power solutions. People you have Abia State having Baton Rouge, because you are assuming that transmission lines will remain permanently in government hands. I doubt that will survive. So I think that transmission is going to be privatized. I think that power supply is going to become, like we said, renewable energy has become much cheaper than fossil fuel energy. That is a game changer. So technology driven telecoms, fintechs, AI, power.
Wow.
Right? Power and the revolution in power.
That's if there's revolution, because
there will be.
The last I checked, most of the discos are insolvent.
Yeah, no, that is the opportunity, because there's a structural imbalance in that value chain. That will change. Same thing, people remember, if we sat down here 3 years ago, all of us were talking about tank farms, off-takers, and all of that. Nobody's talking like that anymore, because Dangote Refinery has come and changed the entire thing.
Yeah.
So expect interventions, and just lest we forget, when somebody reminded us yesterday in a presentation, said that when MTN decided to pay $206 million, the stock price of MTN in Johannesburg fell sharply. That these guys must be mad. Why are they going to this mad country? Nigeria Abiola had just died, and Passenger had just become. So come on, please. Why don't you go to other countries? When they came in, the revenues they had in one day was more than the projection of the revenues they will have in 1 month. In 1 month, the revenues they had was more than the revenues they projected for 9 months. So they now said, don't worry. They started building base stations, co-location, because this business is much more than. Then others started running in Glow and others to come and pay their own $286 million because they thought the man was mad, or the people that made that decision. So there's need for some insanity to make some good decisions, right? And take some risks, and especially if it's calculated. So I think that to me, that's important. So I go now that consumers, we're talking about 200 and something million people. So what are the fast moving consumer goods that these people are essential? You know, you buy petrol, buy sugar, buy, food, storage, and all of that. So we go back to fast moving consumer goods and agriculture and the whole chain of production, storage, and distribution. You see, two of our sponsors here are logistics. All right. Logistics means that you're moving goods from A to B, right? To do that, they need petrol, they need this and all. So those are the sectors that are essential to people and are not based on patronage, government patronage.
So we are looking at telecom-driven sectors,
Power,
FMCG,
and agriculture.
manufacturing.
That FMCG is fast-moving
consumer goods, which is part of manufacturing.
Light manufacturing. But then I also look at the building material business, concrete, cement, and others, right? Because there's going to be a lot of concessioning of roads. And I also look at, I'll be short on financial services because there's a saturation of capital and things there. And they are suffering from the displacement effect of digital displacement. So there's going to be consolidation in financial services. And there's going to be more disintermediation. Financial services will be on hold till after the elections, I think.
Till after the elections.
Yeah. So
now with Dangote listing, which you said will happen.
Yeah.
And I think I heard that NNPC will also be coming to the market sometime this year. So that will add almost you said
over 100 billion naira, 100 trillion
naira into the stock. So what implication would that have for capital adequacy or financial debts in the
no,
country?
let's say this. See, the way to look at it is that stock market listing of a company is people take the money that they had. It's savings. It's a form of national savings.
Yes.
Right? And the national savings ratio in Nigeria is pretty low. So the more they have, if the return on investment is, say, 40%, and the rate of inflation is 15%, you are 30% above, and the exchange rate remains stable.
Yeah.
So let us do the worst case scenario. The exchange rate dropped by 10%, right? The naira loses 150 naira. The inflation goes 15, 16, 20%. So 10% exchange rate, 20% inflation, worst case scenario, and I get 40% return. I'm good. Right?
Okay, so let me go to the subnationals. I don't know if you've been watching. The state governors been declaring very huge budgets for 2026. I know what is driving that, but the challenge that I have with that is that the accountability framework still remains what it has been. So there is no way to actually hold these governors accountable, because we've been saying is about the federal. But what about the states? How do we get the states to work?
Well, Rome was not built in a day. First sanitize the federal, then sanitize the states, and then local government. The reality is that I'm not surprised. But two things are going on at the same time. One, every state governor who is leaving must pick his successor. Because you talk about accountability.
Yes.
The only person who can petition the EFCC about you is your successor. So you spend money on that. You also spend money on convoys. A very interesting thing where two things happened which were quite disturbing. Anthony Joshua was involved in an accident in a state where the roads are very good, and every one point or the other, from Papalan to Kajola or wherever it is to Shagamu, maximum of 1 hour 15, 1 hour 20 minutes. And there was no ambulance. And the victims of the accident were robbed. Dead bodies were put on. So I'd like to look at local subnational government performance in the context of that kind of. Then we had some child that died recently because of So what is the role of government and state government? Providing medical services, providing emergency services. And if those things are not there, and all you have are television sound bites about people crossing from one party to the other, I think we are in two different worlds.
Yes.
And so I bother, right, that there was no ambulance in the entire state. So if you have a budget of 1 trillion and there's no ambulance there, in fairness, that it's not just once, it's all over. So I want us to understand that we now need to ask questions as to how do we judge, what metrics do we use to judge performance, right? Street lights, because obviously solar panels were, so how many people what Obasanjo used to call in those days, they call cockroach death. How many people are having cockroach death? People just wake up, right? So that's where the state governments come in, because health, education, all that are on that list.
Yes.
So we should see more. We shouldn't have Anthony Joshua type of situations. We shouldn't have that.
We talk about corporate social responsibility. That's what we often hear. Do you think we should now begin to look at corporate political responsibility? Is there something the private sector, corporates, can do to improve things at subnational level governance?
I'm not sure that the private sector are shining examples of transparency and accountability. Because every corrupt act in the public sector is paid for and sponsored by the private sector. So I think I think that the reality is that we need again I said I would like to come back as a Marabu. we need priests and
psychiatrists.
And psychiatrists.
Okay, sir. All right. My last question before I go to the audience has to do with geopolitics. I was having this conversation with the president as I arrived here this morning. How Trump seemed to have removed the
Greenland.
Yes, in our eyes. We've seen that the international order wasn't what it was projected to be. It's been the same regime of exploitation ongoing from the colonial era till now. So where do you think that is going to take us, and what geopolitical risk should we be looking at for in 2026?
What I did not do, I took the 3 parts, and I talk about Nigeria. I didn't talk about globally.
Yes.
First thing that I do know that is going to happen is that the institutionalization of strength in America, that is, what has happened in legislature in America has become a walkover and all that. All those things end in the next 1 month. I think that the Supreme Court is going to rule that tariffs are the power of Parliament and not the power of the President. First. 2, I think the Supreme Court is going to say that Lisa Cook right, who was being challenged on mortgage thing and all that, has no case to answer. Right? I'm saying this because January 19 or whatever it is, January 27, we are going to have a Federal Open Market Committee meeting in Federal Reserve Bank. I suspect that they are not going to drop interest rates. And that's why Jerome Powell came out and made that video. It's never been heard of. Where a Federal Reserve chairman comes on to, because he was being accused of property. Now, 2 days after, when the dollar fell and the stock market fell, the only thing that Trump fears is the stock market. Once it goes down, it changes his mind. He's not interested in anything else, right? So that's important to note, that the two things that is, Trump needs the midterm election not to be not the Democrats not to take. He will do everything, but can't stop it. In November, the elections are going to happen. Two is that for him to change things, two things must happen in America. The price of petrol must come down, which means the price of oil go back. And secondly, the mortgage rates Americans pay on their mortgages must come down. And to do that, he needs the Federal Reserve Committee that is, it's not, the chairman is only one vote, right? And even when Powell leaves, right, he's still a member of the committee till 2030. Lisa Cook is there till 2036. You can't, except you kill her, right? So, and all the other members. So Trump says that, okay, I don't think Kevin Bessent should be the one. That's the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. He had thought that guy should be the new. He said, but if I let him go there, who is going to help me do my, right? Which is a dog whistle for saying that I have somebody, right? But whenever you have the Federal Reserve chairman is one vote and it will be independent. So what does a slowdown in interest rate cuts in America mean to the value of the dollar? What does it mean to Nigeria? So, two, the price of oil. So the theaters of war, when an American president is under pressure domestically, he looks for distractions. So Venezuela won, right? But Mobile says, cannot invest in Venezuela except certain things are in place. So we're not going to go that far. Two, Gaza, right? So he has a board of members of Gaza who have been, even Zelensky has been put on the. So that's a joke. So Venezuela, Gaza, Ukraine, right? Greenland is off that. Nigeria could be interesting, right? We'll see how that goes, right? So these are areas, and again, all part of the distraction effect. But the global, some things will never go back to what they were. Whether you like it or not, China, Brazil, India, Russia have started de-dollarizing already, right? And so, the way to look at it, remember when COVID started and a company called Netflix was set up, right?
Yes.
Netflix was to stay at home, watch movies rather, right? So the big screens, Cineplex and all of that. So all of a sudden, Netflix is making a bid for Warner Brothers.
Yes.
So the guys, they sit at home, watch at home movies, are now buying the big, it's never heard of, right? So there are reverse movements that are taking place globally, which means that we are going to have to think about it quite. So again, I tell you, AI has its effect. And to put some perspective, the total GDP of Africa is maybe 2.3 or 2.4 trillion dollars.
Yes.
And Elon Musk is talking about having $1 trillion as compensation, right?
Yes.
So one man of African descent, right,
has 50%.
who has 50% of the entire GDP of the continent. Again, Aretha Franklin said it, ever-changing times.
Thank you very much. So, it's now time for question and answers. So if you, questions and comments, if you have any question, just a little introduction, your name, your organization, and then your question, please. It should be very short and to the point. So show by a raise of hand, the mic will be brought to you.
Good morning. My name is Nia Ajayi, Financial Trust. I just want to ask your opinion on the acquisitions in the power sector, Gergo disposing a majority shareholder, West Power, a co-disco, and also reducing their holding. What do you think is going on in both the last mile and the Gencos? Thank you.
The power sector, the way to look at it is that 30 years ago, we were doing 5,000 megawatts. The economy has grown, population has grown, everything has grown. We are still doing 5,000 megawatts 30 years later. Maybe they know something I don't know. But again, Garabu. So when shareholding changes, it doesn't mean that the company's revenue or profitability changes. It means that somebody has seen an opportunity to take over, to really put some more money there and gain market share. In economics, we call it extending the possibilities frontier, right? So that every time you push that frontier outwards, output increases and theoretically everybody benefits, right? But there are times when you try to push the frontier outwards, you actually, things reverse. But there must be an opportunity for people to be buying all of this. I think the power sector, let's put it this way, right? The financial sector went through its change, 2009, and the AMCON. State government went through their own forbearance. And when Shibajo was acting president, yes. Now the power sector subsidy thing was done. This is it. I think the power sector reform, not just policy change, is going to do so much, because I can tell you certainly that every 1,000 or to 1,500 megawatt increase increases GDP by as much as almost 0.5, if not 1%. So I want you to look at $250 billion and look at 1%, 2% of that, and see whether 1,000 megawatts. So if you have all these guys now unlocking all of these things through either embedded and all of that, the effect is that, yes, the power sector will sell more, but each and every one, the artisans and everybody here, will have more money to spend. So the consumer, and it has a knock-on effect on every other person, even across the whole of West Africa. Because don't forget that we have the African Free Trade Area Agreement, and you saw Accra having 5% of all our destination travels, right? So, one, power; two, regional integration, which means movement of, right? And more than anything else, what we've actually discounted more is stability of the currency. So the autonomy and strength and discipline of the Central Bank of Nigeria, as we see it today, has been a major factor in building confidence.
Yes.
Driven now by this power revolution that is coming, we'll still wait to see. And the impact of that on technology means that you probably have a more integrated economy, right? But again, until that is good, but it must be accompanied simultaneously with some deployment of the gains of this into the people, social programs, not just handouts. You must have a Marshall Plan to wipe out poverty in those areas, because you have a GDP per capita of about $1,000, $1,200 a head, but In Nigeria, we are told that the income per head in Abuja is about $11,000. In Lagos, is about $8,000. And in Maiduguri, is about $700. So,
disparity.
yeah, and that's where the Trump's bombs fall more on the. This is where there's
Yes.
poverty.
All right. Any other question? Okay, please.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nerite Adebayo. So we listen to all our economic outlook every year, and I'm sure we've talked about this many times, sir. What about strengthening our institution? Because I believe that if we have very strong institutions, our economic outlook, political outlook would be better, and we can have more sustainable economy affecting the corporates, the businesses, and the common man. What do we need to do? Why are we not talking? Why is the power not shifting to the people? And why are we quiet about it? Because every time we talk about economy, it's still about people. How can we strengthen our institutions so we can be better? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nerite. The reality is that anytime you talk about these things, there's a 3x3 matrix: good policies, strong leadership, and solid institutions. And if you do the 3x3 matrix, every time, if you have good leadership, and you have great policies, and you have weak institutions, the outcome is negative. If you have poor leadership, good policies, and strong institutions, outcome is positive. Whether you have strong leadership, good leadership, and good policies, as long as the institutions are weak, forget it, it's not going to happen. So how are institutions built? And how, again, it's all Emil Durkheim's theory of structural functional approach to it. Institutions are not built overnight. And an example, Dora Akuyili was the greatest, power. She had NAFDAC, but somebody shot her, The moment she left NAFDAC, that institution became what it was. We've seen that happen over and over again. So institutional reform is even more important than policy change. And that's the challenge. But can it be solved in one day? No, but the longest journey in the world starts with one step. So, and Bongo's Prof was saying here that, the private sector. And I say the private sector may not be a good example, shining example of accountability and transparency, because there are more corrupt practices probably in this private sector institutions than you can think about. But again, Nigerians in this room, both in private and public sector, did not come from Mars. They came from, right? So a change in evolutionary practice, the moment you are appointed as minister or something, all the people in your village are calling that, our time. Say we don't hammer, So that's what, because it is this society that is telling you to steal. But when you look at it, see, the social safety net, this society, our rural, I studied sociology as well. So the thing about rural defense is that while in Europe you have this dole and all sorts of things that they use to support, Medicaid and all that, what we do is that the extended family system is our social support system. So, what you call institutional strengthening is the formal structure. The institutional strengthening or the institutional weakness of allowing your son or your daughter who just left home 2 years ago to come back with a convoy of cars and not asking the question like, okay, what happened? I didn't read about you winning lottery or something. What happened? So, institutional strengthening is both at the corporate domestic and rural family level, more than anything, the family level. Because if the family will not tolerate certain things, deviant behavior, then you will see that societal evolution will improve. So again, we are here to talk about solutions. The problems have been well documented, but the thing about the problem is that it keeps on getting worse when you do nothing about it, right? And when I listened to the BBC, I came back from the US 2 days ago, right? And they said there was some people that were kidnapped in Kaduna, right? And the Nigerian government came out vehemently, and there was nobody missing. Come and show us who the people are. Only for 24 hours later, it turns out to be 170 people missing. The people in this room, I don't know how many we are, but 170 is quite a number. To kidnap all of us in this room now and take us somewhere without anybody knowing about it, it must be very difficult to do that. And for anybody to come out, Sanwo-Olu to come out and announce that nobody, and all of us have been carried away in 2 or 3 buses or 5 buses into the bush, right? So, for him and then later on say, no, so the people that were, when we were being carried away, the Megad and others were not there. But meanwhile, if 170 people miss in any society, somebody must know. Well, why must we then make such bold statements to say? So again, who runs? I'm not the president, I don't aspire to be, but anybody who made that kind of statement and it turns out not to be true, he's looking for a job. He's looking for a job. I mean, come on, how can you make such a statement? It's so embarrassing.
Thank you. The final question. There's a lady there.
No, there's a man here too.
Hi,
Okay.
good morning.
Okay, so we take her.
My name is Ibuku Akinlawore. I work with AOC Real Estate Group, property portfolio managers. So my question is just specifically based on Lagos. So there's a lot of accelerated rural urban migration right now in Nigeria. Everyone is trying to run to the safer cities because of insecurity and obviously trying to earn a living. So I just want to ask, what do you think the effect on this is going to be on Lagos in the next 5 to 10 years? Lagos specifically, we have high population density because everyone wants to live in livable corridors, safer environments, less flooding, less homeless people. So do you think this high rural urban migration is going to lead to inflation, deflation, or is it going to enhance the productivity of Lagos State going forward to the 5 to 10 years? Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting question. See, but if you look at the World Book of Numbers, the fastest growing cities in the world, 5 of them, I think, are in Nigeria, and Lagos was not one of them. Most of them were in Southeast, Newe, Onisha, somewhere else, right? But Lagos is flatlining. It depends on what you call the city. Greater Lagos, but to me, urban renewal is what we're talking about and making life better. Let me say, for example, I was very happy to see about 2-3 months ago the 450 million euro initiative by the European Union to improve the marine waterways of the Lagos metropolis, right? Lagos metroplex. And that is a game changer because if you take the cost of a bridge, and I read somewhere where the Minister of Works was saying about they have to build they have to close down the third mainland bridge, and the cost of one bridge, right, can revolutionize the entire marine system in all the riverine areas of this country, right? Because all you have is everybody crossing the third mainland, the jetties, right? The other thing is that the congestion, you made a point, congestion. If you look at Bishop Oluwole Street, Akin Adeshola, Ozumba Mbadiwe, the number of high rises that are coming up. Every time there's a high rise, remember that those houses there were single dwelling units before. Now, so you had one family, 2 cars, 4 air conditioners. On that plot now, you have 18 flats, 24 flats, and each family with a car parking, everything. The infrastructure is not there. So they need 2-3 transformers. But what is more frightening, and what is more frightening to me? A couple of things that happened. One was on Gerard Road when that building came down some time ago. Two was when that Broad Street had that fire last year. And then the Great Nigeria Insurance building. I'm not sure that we are ready for 21st century life when we have mindsets of 15th and 16th century, right? And that brings me back to the Anthony Joshua and all of those things. And takes me back to the diesel tanker that fell in the Liverpool Road in Papa and all of that. And these are happening every day. And I can tell you, for every Anthony Joshua that happened, there are 1,000 vehicles that have been run. The guy was driving at 140 kilometers an hour. We're supposed to make sure that you don't, right? Tire went off and all that. How many of these mishaps can we afford? So it is important that whilst we are looking at the growth, there are guardrails that will make sure that we can live peacefully, because one fire and one flat and it's all over, right? So this road going all the way to Lekki and to Ekpe, right? Some people have to go to Lakwe and all of that. It's an endurance test to go on a drive to Lakwe, right? Because it's been one construction site all along. Don't forget, we also paid for Lekki concessioning something.
Yes.
Right. So I'm saying that it's never ending. So it is true that real estate migration, it is true that this migration is happening across most of the cities in the country. It's also true that we are not ready for communal living, right? We have not put the safety things in place, right? The lifts here, I go into lifts occasionally, right? Where it matters. If not, I use the staircase. Lift maintenance, I used to be in real estate lending when I was working the First National Bank of Chicago, and I know that a building that has a lift is 45% more expensive to maintain than one without one. And nothing consumes power apart from microwave and others more than lifts. So what we do normally is okay, floor 1, 2, and 3, no lifts, right? So that people can, because some people enter the lift in floor 11 and come out on floor 10. The power they have consumed in just, right? So I'm just giving you examples of where we must do the maintenance culture and the survival culture. It is very dangerous. Buildings, you can see some buildings that this thing is going to fall any moment from now. And tomorrow, people, when they painted it, people rush there and occupy it. In fairness, Eco Atlantic has some real good, but that's how Banana Island started and all Parkview. Then the next thing, they make it into a slum. So, but again.
Okay, so the last question. Make it short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. My name is Maureen Nungu. So my question would be, you mentioned in passing that the new tax law will be implemented in the staggered form. Now,
I'm hoping.
Okay. Now, based on the gazetted new tax law, there's a lot of confusion and knowledge gap, especially as it concerns the common man. So there's even artisans now that have increased their charges. If you ask them, they said because there's a 7.5% tax or whatever on the stock. So the question really is, how will this affect the purchasing power of the common man if fully, and all the knowledge you are hearing, the government will look at your banks and all those ones and put another. And then secondly, how will it impact the inflation?
Okay. I'm happy you asked that question. A perfect market, the difference between a perfect and an imperfect market is easy entry, easy exit, homogeneous commodity, and perfect information. Information asymmetry or confusion only makes markets more imperfect, and therefore you can exploit it by increasing prices. What I've heard or what I've read is that everybody below the minimum wage does not pay tax exempt. This
800,000.
Yeah, but again, this lack of clarity and confusion, right, are the things that are making, they will just create distortions, right? And I'm surprised that the tax committee also have economists there, but to know that the canons of taxation are, in fairness, again, 2026, two things that will happen. It's 250 years of the American independence, right? And also, it's also 250 years of the anniversary of Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations.
Wealth of Nations. Okay.
So, and of course, the elections in November. Now, the thing is that I'm not, while the revenues have increased, the tax revenues have increased, the cost of collection has also increased. But the cost of collection is not just what they pay the consultants. The confusion in the minds of people as to whether, one, is this taxable? Two, if it is, how much am I going to pay? Three, if I get a letter from the tax authority to say, and then the dispute that will come with it. I think if there's anything which is the biggest political risk this administration faces today, is the misunderstanding of this tax. Because people believe that they are being violated. When you say, 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago, there was a rumor that they were going to convert balances in domiciliary account into Naira and all of that. And let me tell you what happened. Do you know that within 2 months or so, almost $1 billion or $2 billion went out of this country? People say, I don't want to know, I don't want to hear. Let my money be out there first, and then let me bring. And nobody, they explain from now to tomorrow that no. I don't want to hear. Right? So that's the same thing that is happening on this taxing. Somebody told me that because I'm in an AJO, they collect money, the revenue comes into my account, and it's now, no. But I already paid. I paid tax on my personal income before I contributed to that job. Now, when it comes to my turn, they want to, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear. So it's a big risk, right? And you can see a man, big man, 6'5" and everything. One small stone in his shoe, he won't be able to walk from here to there until he takes that stone out. I fear that the misunderstanding, nobody, it's too complicated, there's this allowance, there's this kind of file. I beg, I don't want to know. And when you start implementing it without becoming very aggressive about it, you are equipping the opposition. Say, we haven't started. Now you want to grab your money. So that is the way. So I have my fears, and my advice when in difficulty, defer, right? Just remember the subsidy thing. Buhari talked and said, okay, PIA sign it, but effective June 2023. By which time I'll go. So,
all right.
I don't want anything to disrupt the election in 2020. I don't want anything to disrupt. I don't want any. Please, after my time,
All right. Thank
Okay.
you very much. I think that's the much we can have. Right.
Please let's appreciate the moderator and Mr. Rewane again. Let's keep the applause going. Yes. Thank you so very much. When you have a combo of a professor of economics and a foremost economist, that's what you get. Yes. When Mr. BJ Rana was speaking, I saw the CEO of Wakanow taking shots on the screen frantically. Nike Macaulay, do you want to show yourself? When you discuss the aviation sector, Mr. Jude Chiemeka, the CEO of NGX, is also here. So we have a couple of, can we give them a round of applause? I know he was happy when Mr. BJ Rani discussed the issue of the market cap and what the all-share index might be for 2026. We are rounding off. We're getting to the home run, meaning that the data is already well spent. It's about coming to an end. As is usual with us at the NBCC, we appreciate our guest speakers, the moderators, the sponsors. And Mr. President, adjust your suit very well and your tie as we come forward to do the honors. First is to appreciate Mr. BJ Rani, the guest speaker, with the plaque. Let's give Mr. President a round of applause. The media, the pictures. Mr. BJ Rani, please.
Thank you very much. Well, this plaque, I'll just try and read it. It's obviously to be presented to Mr. Smart, guest speaker today. There's an economic about when I first mentioned that you're going to handle that outlook. Around September, October last year, he said done. And I saw him again, and I reminded him, happy, but I said it's done. And I said, I said MBCC, we need letter. That at least for us, we're a bit more structured. Go and pick our guests. As if you go around the room, you can see we're already putting dates, pictures of all our future events. So first of all, so thank you for accepting. At the time, most people will not accept because they will not be so sure as to what they'll be doing in January. And for you to accept as far back, I think as September, and he just simply said, what's the date, 22nd, please take it as done. So it's really to thank you for honoring our invitation. I think I've seen it, somebody hold this one.
Thank you, Mr. President. You still wait as usual. Let's appreciate Mr. BJ Rani again. Next to be so appreciated is the moderator, who did so very well. Himself and Mr. BJ Rani are Siamese twins regarding moderating events. Professor Bongoadi. Let's appreciate Prof. Thank you, Prof. Next to be appreciated. No, let's give him a round of applause as he steps downwards. Adrian Homes and Properties, please come forward for your plaque. Our sponsors, let's appreciate them as they come forward. They're powerfully represented here. Let's keep applauding her as she comes forward, please. Sorry. Thank you, Adrian Homes and Properties. And our regards to Emmanuel King, my very good friend. Thanks. Next is Richardson Oil and Gas for their sponsorship as well. Richardson Oil and Gas. Let's appreciate Richardson Oil and Gas. Wow, it's a day of the women. Wow. Another round of applause for another lady here for Richardson Oil and Gas. The women are doing everything. They're the best in JAM, they're the best in NECO, they're the best in A-levels, Cambridge, they're the best in IGCSE. What else? What are the men doing? They are planning, okay. Next, Zenith Carex International, another sponsor of ours. Let's give them a resounding round of applause. Another consistent sponsor of the events at the NBCC. Let's go member 2, Dr. Olamileko Adelano. Thank you for your consistent support. Zenith Carex International. Next, Codros Capital Group. Codros Capital. Another lady. Wow. Wow. We're becoming a minority species. Codros Capital. Wale Agbeongi and his team, thank you for your support. Consistent supporter on the chamber too. Thank you. Let's appreciate Codros Capital again. Then last but definitely not the least, Prime Next Logistics Limited. I hope a man will show up for Prime Next. Oh my goodness, another lady. Wow. Let's give them a round of applause for supporting us. It's the day of the women. My hands are up. I have surrendered. Thank you, Prime Next Logistics, for sponsoring this. Let's give a resounding round of applause to all our sponsors. So next is the photo ops. Mr. President, you still remain standing. Sorry, we always do this. Our keynote speaker, please come forward. Moderator, please come forward. We use these pictures for our post-event publicities, and we have an order of photographs. Please come forward for your pictures. Let's appreciate them. Please, moderator and speaker, please wait. All our sponsors, our 5 sponsors, should join them. All our 5 sponsors should return to the podium, please. Our sponsors, Prime Next, Richardson, Adrian Holmes, Zenith Carex International, Codros Capital. Our 5 sponsors should come forward to take a picture. Thank you, our sponsors, as we take your leave. Please, the guest speaker, the moderator, and Mr. President should still stay behind. Our patrons, past president, Ashiwaju Michael Olawale Cole, members, the 2 deputy presidents, Mr. Akin Oshoki and Mr. Nabi Okonkwo, should join. Let's give our 2 deputy presidents a resounding round of applause. Let's keep the applause going. Then after this, I'll invite members of council to join them. So we might need to do this on a 2-layered basis. So Mr. President, you might need to come forward. Other members of council should join. Council members. Let's share this. I don't want to say according to height, because I'm going to be sanctioned if I said according to height, but let's arrange it. So let's have a second row. Yes. There are too many. Let me do the. Let me play the role of. Let's step this down. Yes. Okay. Let's appreciate our council members as they take their leave. Council members should take their leave. ESCO members should remain. Members of ESCO and council, other ESCO members can join us. ESCO members, including DG. Members of ESCO, Mrs. Ungu. Thank you, ESCO members. Mr. President, our two deputy presidents, the moderator and guest speaker with HQ staff. DJ, where are your staff? Wow. No, let's have the few members of HQ that are here. It's important. DJ, bring your troops. Bring them. HQ officers here, could you suspend the distribution so that I can take part in this? Thank you. Can we have another one with two deputy presidents? Yes. You can see all of them looking dapper in their suits and ties, and they're all rich men. I won't mention their account balances for tax purposes. Yes, we can now go down, Mr. President. Can we just appreciate our members of the leadership of the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce for another time well spent. We shouldn't leave yet. We have a single agenda item to finish. I have the honor to invite the chairman of the Trade and Investment Committee and also one of the vice presidents of the chamber, Madam London, Ms. Lara Kayode, to come and give the vote of thanks. Let's appreciate Ms. Lara Kayode as she comes forward to take the vote of thanks. Let's give her a sounding round of applause, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the chamber, I'd like to thank our guest speaker, Mr. Bismarck Rewani, moderator, Professor Bongo Adi. Thank you very much, sir. Our patrons, EXCO, and council members. Our sponsors, Richardson Oil and Gas, Zenith Carex Express, Codrus Asset Management Limited, Adron Homes and Properties Limited, and Prime Next Logistics Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, the programs committee and the NBCC headquarters for this event. And I have the pleasure of informing you of our upcoming events. On the 28th of January, Wednesday, we have the UNDP and NBCC Skills Roundtable. On the 29th of January, Thursday, we have a DBT Roundtable, which I believe is a webinar. On the 6th of February, a Friday, we have the Economic Outlook, NBCC and IOD in the UK. The plaza is open with state-of-the-art facilities for you to explore for your corporate events, training, seminars, and meetings, at affordable rates. You can reach out to the Chamber headquarters to make inquiries and reservations. If you are interested, if you are not yet a member, I wonder why. If you are interested in becoming a member of the Chamber, please visit our website, www.nbcc.org.ng, or meet with the membership team at the registration desk. Finally, please follow us on social media to be informed of all our activities at NBCC_NG on Instagram, at Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce on LinkedIn. We kindly request, can I have the code up if possible, that you scan the QR code to share your feedback on today's event. Your insights are highly valued and will help us improve future engagements. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you, Ms. Laraka. All is ends well. The day is fast spent, and this officially closes the event. Thank you so very much. I will hope to welcome you to our next events at the Chamber. Thank you so very much.